welcome back. My name is Tara and I am a musician coming to you from the Netherlands. In this podcast I will tell you all about what I'm knitting or crocheting, and I will take you along with my new spinning adventures. I also own a yarn dyeing business called ByNel Yarns. So let's start with finished objects, and the first one I am wearing, I will stand up so you can see it a little bit better. This is the So Faded sweater by Andrea Maury. She designed it to use multiple skeins of yarns and make it into a fade. I used 3 of my more ocean-inspired colorways. So this up here is called Serif, and Serif is one of these shells that will coil into a point. In the middle, I've used Ocean Breeze, and here down at the bottom, it's called Seafoam. In this pattern, Andrea talks about a fading sequence, which if you will start a new color, you will do 1 row of the new color and then just alternate the colors for a few rows, 10 or something, and then continue with the new color. But I used a different one because I wanted a more subtle and more smooth fade, and I think it really worked out well. I have it all down in my Ravelry page, but just to be sure, I will tell you now. I did 1 row of the new color, so color B, and then 3 rows of the old one, then 1 of color B, and then 2 of color A, and then I did 6 rows in total of alternating the 2 colors, and then I reversed it. So 2 rows of the new color, 1 of the old, 3 of the new, and 1 of the old, and then continued. And I think it really worked well and gives a very, very subtle fade. If I would make this again, I think I would start my fading a little bit higher. Now I started just after the divide for the sleeves, and I did that, I think, because I was a little bit lazy and didn't want to hassle with a lot of fading also before splitting of the sleeves and with the raglan and everything. But in the end, I think my favorite color is this one below, and it turned out that this is the smallest amount of yarn I used for my favorite color. So I might have started a new color a little bit higher, but I'm still happy with it. I'm not going to take it out and knit it again. So yeah, the So Faded sweater by Andrea Maury. So the second thing I finished is this little guy who is sitting over here. This is Gnettle. It's a pattern by, it's not focusing. Yes. It's a pattern by Sandra Shira of Imagined Landscapes. It was actually her October Halloween mystery gnome knit-along, and you could choose between making a witch or a pumpkin. And because I had all this purple and blue and gray leftovers, I think it would suit it better to a witch. So I made the witch, which was called Gnettle. I didn't really keep up with the mystery knit-along, but I was quite far. I had the legs and the hat and even the body, but somehow I didn't finish the body and I stalled. So now I picked it back up and made the final pieces, which was just the hair and the nose and making the wedges on the body. I think she turned out really cute. The body is actually supposed to be in only 1 color, but I ran out of this lighter purple one, and I just continued with something else I had left. And I think she turned out really cute. It was the first gnome I made with legs. I think they dangle really nicely. Yeah, so my second and last finished object, Gnettle. The only thing I'm not really happy about is the brim of the hat. It keeps curling up. It might have to do with me putting the hair a little bit too far under the brim, or maybe something to do with blocking, but I might go back and just put a tiny, is it focusing? Yeah, a tiny stitch here and a tiny stitch here, just to make the hat lie a little bit more flat. Of course, the nose is also driving it up. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy, and she turned out really cute. Okay, so let's continue with what I've been making, what I've been working on. The first one is sitting right here. It is still on the cables because I vended at a yarn show last week in Germany, and I put this on my stall. So I took the needles off, so I just have it on cables, and I still have to put the needles back on so I can continue knitting. This is called A Game of Croquet, and it's a pattern by Unwind Knitwear. And it's not an all-over color work, but it goes really far. I think it goes somewhere around the middle. As you can see, the color work is really intricate, but the pattern kind of fades out towards the bottom. This is actually the second time I'm knitting this, because the first time when I started it, it turned out way too small. So now the second time I went up a needle size, and I'm really hoping that it's not too small. It is like this, so I could essentially try it on, but it's just a small part under the sleeve. So I think I will just continue a little bit further and then try it on and see if it will fit. But I think this time it will work. Let's see. I'm fingers crossed, because I don't know if I have the courage to start it a third time. So like I said, this is a pattern by Unwind Knitwear called A Game of Croquet, and I'm using 2 of my own colorways. I'm using this color. This is called Belle Époque, and it's a light chocolatey brown color with flecks of green and purple and yellow and some blue. And then I'm pairing it as a contrast color with this one. And this is called Araña. And it doesn't really show on this camera, but it's actually a little bit brighter and a little bit more, there's more variation than you can see on this camera. And I really like this combination because the green picks up, so this green picks up on the speckles that are in the Belle Époque. So A Game of Croquet. It's not going fast because it's all over color work and I really have to pay attention. Usually if I have a pattern repeat, I will use stitch markers, but with color work you're already struggling with 2 different yarns, and I didn't want the hassle of slipping the markers as well. So I am doing it without markers, which means that I really have to pay attention. So it's not growing very fast because I'm not working on it too much, because sometimes in the evening I'm too tired, and it takes a long time, the color work. But yeah, it's coming along. So like I said, I was vending at a yarn show in Germany last week, and I always want a little knitting just to keep my hands busy, something easy where I can just stand and put it down and not worry about it anymore. So of course, I chose a design I was working on, which was not a very good idea. I did manage to do some, so I'll show you what I did. So I'm just using a little leftover of another project. This is called Virosa. And this is what I started. So I started here and I put in this eyelet pattern. Wasn't really happy. So this is one of my stitch markers. And then I changed it up to this eyelet pattern, already better, but still not quite what I was looking for. And then I came up with this one. So I think this will be the final stitch pattern I will put in. And now I was trying to make a really nice point, because the plan is that it will be a long scarf or shawl that you can use out of one of your precious skeins and use the entire skein up. Or maybe if you have leftovers from socks or something, you can make a smaller one. So I want to do a tip to tip, that's the plan. But while vending, I think I did something weird, because I think I did some increases here. So this is not straight, so I have to figure out what I did and go back. But this is just a swatch, just to try out some things. I want to make the final shawl out of this color, which is very bright and summery, which is called Sunlit Meadow. So it's this spring green with golden flecks in it. And I think this colorway is perfect for spring and summer. So this will be the colorway for the final shawl. So my next work in progress is also something small and tiny. And it's a mitten. There's not much to see yet. I've just started the brim, and there's a little decrease to accommodate for the wrist, which is really nice because my wrists are really small. And I just did the decrease, and now I'm going a little bit further. This is the May pattern by Julie Knits in Paris, and it's a brioche, one color brioche pattern. I've knitted already 2 times, and it's really nice because brioche is incredibly stretchy, which means that I knit this pattern for myself and it fits perfectly. I've used the exact same numbers and cast on and everything for a pair for my daughter, and she fits, for her it fits perfectly. And but then also my husband fits in these gloves because it's incredibly stretchy and it will just accommodate for the size you need. I really like this pattern. I really like knitting brioche, and I find it really meditative. And I was actually amazed when I looked it up on Ravelry that there are only 9 people who knit this one. So I can really recommend the Man-Made gloves by Julie Knits in Paris. It only uses about 20 grams of yarn per mitt, so it's perfect when you have made a pair of socks and you have some leftovers if you have a smaller size. I am knitting this out of the leftovers of a sock blank, actually. The sock blank I used for my pattern called Soulmates, and this was the leftover at the end. I will try to insert a picture of these Soulmates so you can see where it started. It started with a very light blue, and it continued to a brighter blue, into green, and later into black. So now I've started with the black side, and I will go and continue into green. So yeah, Man-Made gloves. So now I would like to talk to you about my spinning. Last time I told you that I started spinning using a spindle that I bought in February. And I spun my first yarn, but now a few weeks ago, in the beginning of April, it was my birthday, and I got this amazing present. So my husband gave me the electric eel wheel nano. It's incredibly tiny, really small. This is the front. And it's amazing. I'm so incredibly happy with it. I don't have a lot of space here in this house, so a wheel was a little bit too big for me. My daughter plays the harp, and the harp is already standing in the living room, so where am I going to put a very big spinning wheel? But this is perfect. It's tiny, it fits in its box, and I can put it in a bag and I can put it away. It's amazing. So I already spun my first yarn on it and plied as well. And that's this one. This is merino, not very fine merino, I think somewhere 24 microns. So it is a little bit coarser than you're used to merino. And I made a simple 2-ply. And I think it turned out like a sport weight. I already started some project out of it because my plan, may be a little bit too ambitious, but we'll see, is to make a northeasterly blanket. That's a blanket which is made out of strips, and it was really popular a few years ago, so you probably have heard about it. But it's made out of strips that will go into a point, and then you can just continue until you like the length, or you want to attach a new strip, and then you start a new strip here. And my plan is just to use all my hand spun into this blanket. I don't know if that's a good idea, because I might not be very consistent in the thickness of my yarns, so it might become bulky in some places, but we'll see. But hopefully at the end I will have a blanket where you can see my spinning progress. Already I know that this is not perfect. Of course, nothing is perfect, but I think I've really over-plied it. It's a little bit too, in some places I really like it. It's like, let's see if I can show you. Yeah. But then here you can see it kind of kinks. And if I unroll it, that was my needle. Oh, it's not focusing. I can't unroll it to show you. So I don't know how long I will continue with this strip. I'm not using the whole 50 grams. This is 50 grams. I will just do a piece until I'm done with it, and then start another color, and then introduce this color later. Let me pick up my needle. And what I also did, because last time I showed you my first yarn that I spun with the spindle, that was this one. But then I realized that here the plying was way too tight. I did the plying on my spindle, and I have a really heavy spindle, but my singles I spun actually quite thin, and I was so afraid of it snapping that I think I put too much spin into the plying. And I watched some videos, and I saw people who said, well, you can fix that, just run it through the spinner again and remove some of that twist. And I did that with a little bit. I did that yesterday, and I think it already came out much better. I can hold it up next to each other. I think you can see. So this, I've run to my spinner again and removed some of the twist, and I think it's much better. So I think after I finish this color for the blanket, I think I would try this one and see how it knits up, and see if it's better, and if it really worked, then I will go back and redo the other one. I also plied this one. This is some Corriedale, if I'm correct. I will put down the links where I got all the yarn that I spun. I have spun the singles for this on my spindle, but then I plied it on the eel wheel, and it's much easier for me. For me, it's much easier to ply on the wheel because it's a lot more consistent, because you can just continue on without stopping. Whereas every time if you ply on the spindle, every time you have to stop and redo. And I really noticed that this one is much more consistent in the plies than the pink one I've just showed you. And at the moment, what I'm doing is spinning up this braid. This is also a merino with a like 24 micron count, so not super soft, but still really nice. And I've already spun the 2 singles, which I'm letting rest before I'm plying it. I think this one is a little underspun, and this might be either correct or overspun. And you can see also it's supposed to be the same amount of grams, around 25. And you can see that this one is a lot more of it on the bobbin than this one. So that's a good indication that I've not been spinning these 2 singles very consistently, and I can also feel it. This is much squishier, and this is a lot tighter than that one. But let's see what happens when I ply it together. I'm spinning just for the fun of spinning. I'm not, except for the blanket, I don't have really a project in mind, and that's why I chose the blanket, so I can just try some things out and put them into a scrappy blanket. So I will have a project in the end, but not really worry too much about the spinning itself, and just trying it out. What I would like to do next is take these two braids and try 2 different things. So I want to try to make singles and then ply these together to get a barber pole. But I would also really like to try to separate it a little bit and then to spin these together. So I will spin so that I can blend the fibers while spinning a single. So I think that will be the next thing I try. So now we're on to acquisitions. Like I told you, I was vending at the yarn show, and of course I had to buy some things for my colleagues. So first I was standing next to Atelier Marie-Lucienne, who makes a lot of stitch markers and other notions, all made out of plywood. And she was my neighbor, and I already met her before, and she's a really nice person. And I always have to buy something from her. So I bought this time. It is a little ball of yarn out of wood with a lobster clasp attached, and inside is a magnet. And I thought this was really useful because it holds your stitch markers, it can hold your needles. So for example, when I'm knitting a sleeve, I always put in stitch markers when I'm doing a decrease, so I can copy that on the next sleeve. And I thought it would be really handy just to have this hanging in your bag, where you can just easily either pop the stitch marker on or take it off. So this is my first acquisition. And then I also bought this ball of floof. I bought this from a small store called Das Kleine Wollschwein. And I haven't read into it too much, but I think what she does is she goes around and collects the wool from a local farmer. So this was local wool to Lohmar, where we were. And this is a fleece from the Coburger, this is my German pronunciation, Coburger Fuchsschaf. I've never heard of that. She also had a lot of Tessels, which is a Dutch breed, of course, that I know. But of this breed, I've never heard of it. So I bought this floof, and I want to try and spin it up. It's really soft. It still has a lot of lanolin in it, and you can see a lot of vegetable matter. Yeah, and I'm excited about spinning this up. Okay, so lastly, a little bit of shop news. I've reopened my shop a few days ago, putting back everything that I took back with me from the yarn show. There are still a few skeins I have to take some pictures of to put it on, because I made a lot of sock sets with new combinations I've never made before. So I have to still do that. Hopefully I will have time to do that next week. And the best thing actually is to follow me on Instagram, because I always post it there when I put new stuff in the shop. I also have a lot of plans about what I really want to do. I have to be careful not to do too much and really plan it well. I want to make a little collection. So I'm working on that and thinking about the colors and designing the colors. So hopefully you will see some snippets of it in the coming weeks. So thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe. And hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!